All right, so this is that basic program we just made, and I wanted to show you and make sure you understood how to actually compile this stuff by hand. So in the previous one, we typed in clang main.cpp -o myapp.exe. We have to type all this stuff in, hit enter, it compiles, we get our app, and then to run it, we have to drag it down here, do this, hit enter, and you can see it run. That's a lot. And this is literally the simplest program you can make. Anything more complicated than this, where you have more than one file, where you actually want to debug this and kind of step through your code, which we'll show you in a second, this is not conducive to getting anything done fast. So in VS Code, we can create a task that does all of this right here for us. And we can then set up a task also, or use another file to run this program in debug mode. So, which is super powerful, helps you step through your code line by line. So I want to show you that real quick. We're going to get into this a lot more, but for right now, let's get rid of this. So first thing, we're going to go up to View, Command Palette. Actually, you can do it here. Task. So if you type task in, these are all the commands dealing with tasks. There's one called configure default build task. You can click this one, or if you go to terminal, it's actually sitting right here. So all of the commands that are in VS Code you can get to in this command palette here. Okay, so go to terminal, configure default build task. This drop down pops up. Now I have some different compilers on here. We're going to use this Clang++ compiler. So click this, and then what happened was VS Code added a .VS Code folder. Okay, and then in this folder is a new file called tasks.json or JSON. Not quite sure how people pronounce this. Anyway, so this is the file that's created. There's a lot here. I'm going to make this smaller. So this JSON file here includes all of this text here dealing with this one single task. Now we don't need all of this. For what we're going to use, we're going to clean this up quite a bit. So this text right here deals with coloring and formatting some text in the terminal. We don't need it. We're trying to make this simple. This -G is for debug mode. So if we want to compile our code, we're going to use this -G. Now what you might find here is this is our Clang compiler. Let me pull up our terminal again. This is our Clang compiler. This is the command that is run in the command line right here. So what we're going to want to do is duplicate the commands that we needed, that we typed by hand, but we're going to do them in here. So it's automated. So we didn't deal with debug mode, so I'm going to comment this out just temporarily. We're going to add this back in later. Now, VS Code has a bunch of these variables that are put in. So these are super handy. This one will basically replace the file name. This one will replace the file directory name. This is the base file name with no extension. There's a bunch of these. I don't use any of these. The main one I use is one called workspace folder, which is, it uses IntelliSense. You can see it right here, workspace folder. This one's literally just going to return the path to this first program folder right here. Okay, and then just like any path, we can add our add the rest of the path to it. So I'm going to put a / and then the name of my file I want to compile. So main.cpp. Okay, and then the next thing we wrote here, we had Clang++, which is right here. We have our main CPP. which is right here. We have our .o, which is right here. And we need our executable name. So I'm going to get rid of all this stuff. And in here, I'm going to go back and do my workspace folder. Workspace folder. Again, / we'll call it my app.exe. Okay. So you can see these 3 lines are the exact same thing as main.cpp -o myapp.exe. And now there's more to this JSON file than just that. And for the Clang compiler, it does not have a problem matcher, so we can get rid of that. If you're using GCC, all that does is if you have an error, it will put it in this problems folder. That's all that does. But for Clang, we don't have that. Group, I'll show you what this does. This just organizes where our tasks show up in this run tasks deal. And then detail, this gives you a little information. I don't need it. It's gone. Okay. So I'm just skimming through here. Oh, the label, this is what our task is going to be called. This is a lot. So I'm just going to simplify this and say build my program. Okay. Nothing special, just something you could find it. So you can see here, this is our entire task. So every time we run this task, it's going to do all of this. It's going to call the Clang++ program, and it's going to feed it our main.cpp. It's going to set the output directory, the output name to myapp.exe. So let's save this. Now we can run it from here. You can go to terminal. Let's run our task. And you can see here's build my program. That's what I called it, just below this thing you can't see. So if I click this, you'll see it has now compiled my program and created myapp.exe. The exact same way I did it before. Okay. This is great. That really simplifies things. So now I don't have to type this every time or risk the possibility of doing a typo. Now, what if I wanted to run this? And not just run it, but run it in debug mode. So first thing we would have to do is add this compiler flag, which is -g. When I compile this now, it's going to compile the same program, but it's also going to add a folder. Now on Mac, it's going to add a folder with a bunch of other files and things in it that help help the debugger step through my code. So let me save this. I'm going to run this task again. The shortcut is Command-Shift-P. That's the exact same thing as going to view command palette. It just remembers my last task, so hit this and then build my program, and you'll see myapp.exe, and then you also see this folder with a whole bunch of stuff in it. I don't pretend to know what's even in here. I just know you need it for debug. So now if we want to actually debug our program, what we can do is go over to this Run and Debug button. And because we haven't set this up, we're going to need to create a launch.json file. So click here. It creates the file. It's actually already in our VS Code folder. Okay. It's called launch.json. And then we need to add a configuration. So click this button here. And then for Mac, I'm going to create this launch guy right here. And again, it's going to fill in a whole bunch of stuff for me. Now I'm gonna edit this so I can actually use it. So this one actually gives you a decent instructions here. So enter your program name. For example, here's our workspace folder shown. So let's get rid of this. This is our program name. So we're going to call this myapp.exe. This CWD, this is current working directory. This is the exact same thing as telling this command which basically folder you want to start from. So I almost always start this with my workspace. Oops, hold on a second, close this. There's a slight chance this needs to be workspace root, but for now let's just try this. And the rest of this is the name. So let's give it a name, call it run my program. Okay, hit save. Close this one. Now if we go over to our run and debug, you can see it's already selected my that configuration. So all I have to do to run that program is hit this play button. Okay, I do want to allow it. And let me go to a terminal so I can see everything. And I had the terminal closed, I apologize. But I'll run this again. Let me clear this. So let's go here, let's hit run. And what you'll see is all of this debug output, and then there's our hello world right here. Now, if I wanted this to, instead of display in this debug console, to pop up in our standard terminal that we're used to, we can go to our launch.json, and one of the options here is external console. It's listed right here. So instead of it being false, we can set this to true. And now when I save and run this, instead of it popping up all of our debug stuff in here, it will actually pop up a separate terminal that has our output in it. So let's do that here. So play, let's run, and sure enough, it'll pop up a terminal, and lo and behold, there's our hello world. So if you got here, good job.